The biggest markets in traditional assets are indexed, just as you stated. The S&P 500, the IG, an index of bond exposure, is the largest exchange-traded fund, ETFs, in the bond market. Believe the majority of conventional investors only wish to be exposed to cryptocurrency. All the pillows in your background are what they desire. They won't want to alternate between the pillows. They lack that degree of experience. Even I work in crypto throughout the clock. Regarding which layer 1 blockchain will be the main and biggest in the future, I am not entirely certain. I would want to simply possess them all. Index strategies, in my opinion, will be a market worth over $100 billion and may even be the biggest ETP market in cryptocurrency, and second only to Bitcoin, if not the biggest. The cryptocurrency market is currently at a very critical juncture, with numerous popular cryptocurrencies including Ethereum, Bitcoin, XRP, and more, all of which are testing higher highs one after the other. And during the next 30 days, this portends a very positive breakthrough. I believe that the price activity that we experienced in November 2024, December 2024, and January of this year for XRP is about to happen again. In addition, Hougan, huge cryptocurrency, XRP and Solana tsunami will soon be sweeping across the local securities markets. Because of the surplus liquidity that Bitcoin has been receiving, Ethereum is beginning to see some activity here. And he thinks that with everything that is happening right now, altcoin season will be very, very soon to follow. Since I've been waiting for this to happen for the entire year, I must admit that I'm quite excited about everything. Indeed, the altcoin season has been a little behind schedule, but in my opinion, and Matt Hougan's as well, we're finally approaching the ideal circumstances for fantastic performance for a lot of altcoins. Kindly take note that this video does not contain any financial advice, but kindly hit the like button so that everyone in the XRP army may watch today's fantastic film. Let's dive straight into Matt Hougan's thoughts on this. Yes. Bitwise has filings at the moment, so of course I can't talk about any specific filing, but I believe it might happen soon. The current market odds undoubtedly give Solana ETF a 98% chance of debuting in July. That's quite hopeful. Although there is no assurance, I believe the market is correct to be anticipating July. I would assume that the Secretary must make a decision by the end of this fall, if that is in fact the case. However, it might happen at any time this week or the following week. It might happen soon. Well, I believe that everything is heading toward possible approval, which is really exciting. ETF are governed by two main regulations in the SEC. The 1933 Act and the 1940 Act are the first two. Generally speaking, 1933 Act funds, also known as ETP-B, are commodities grantor trusts. Examples of this include 1933 Act funds and spot Bitcoin ETF. The 1933 Act fund is the gold ETF. It is the traditional wrapper used to introduce commodities to the market. However, the 1940 Act offers an alternative method, which is through a corporation known as a C Corp. The underlying commodity would then be held by that. Although it is unusual, this does exist. One of the more ingenious things Rex did was to apply for this under the 1940 Act C Corp version. That's clever, Tony, and I say that as Bitwise's friendly rivals. And we're all kind of friends in this business, because 1940 Acts take effect automatically unless the SEC intervenes. I believe it's 75 days in a small time frame, but the 33 Act funding require 240 days for evaluation. They sort of got on a faster timeline by packaging it in this less common C Corp structure. It's not entirely certain yet if that will indicate their market debut. It is always within the CC power to say stop, halt, etc. Until it is online and trading, we won't be able to tell if it is truly live. But for that reason, they have adopted a variety of approaches, each with its own set of efficiency. I won't claim that one is superior to the other. Bitwise opted for the more conventional path. Believe that's the best course of action. However, they deserve praise and flowers for adopting this unique strategy. Are these C corporation setups more common in the ETF industry? Or are spot setups more common? The great majority of ETF or ETP that are based on commodities fall within the classic grantor trust scenario outlined in the 1933 Act. The Bitcoin ETF reside there. The Ethereum ETF reside there. The traditional structure is that. The majority of 1940s products are comparable to S&P 500 funds, correct? Usually, securities are placed here. This C Corp strategy is a little out of the ordinary when it comes to incorporating commodities into an ETP using an ETF structure. It is real. It's not the first time this has happened. It's not like creating anything new. It's simply not the usual method. With the possible exception of Bitcoin, I am quite certain that there will be a larger ETF than any individual cryptocurrency asset. Already, Bitcoin is kind of booming. However, I believe they could refute the idea that the biggest markets are indexed if you look at traditional assets, just as you stated the S&P 500, the AG, an index of bond exposure, is the largest exchange-traded fund, ETF, in the bond market. Believe the majority of conventional investors only wish to be exposed to cryptocurrency. All the pillows in your background are what they desire. They won't want to alternate between the pillows. They lack that degree of experience. Even me. I work in the cryptocurrency industry 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I am not entirely sure whether Layer 1 blockchain will be the main and biggest in the future. I would want to simply possess them all. Therefore, I do believe that index techniques will be a market worth over $100 billion in ETP, and may perhaps be the biggest EPP market in cryptocurrency, and second only to Bitcoin, if not the biggest. I truly believe they are far more significant. More than any other single asset, since the majority of consumers only wish to wager on cryptocurrency. Based on that, we developed an ETF. I really like own Bitcoin, which is the ticker. The availability of tickers can be fortunate at times. In addition to conventional businesses like Tesla that own at least 1,000 Bitcoin, it also owns all Bitcoin treasury companies with at least 1,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. For those who wish to learn more about this tendency, I believe that's a helpful tool. For the same rationale as before, why place a single wager when you could control the entire market? The corporation might idiosyncratically mismanage one bet. Their loan covenants can be poor. In all of that, are you truly being thorough? Why not simply take the calculated risk of owning the combination of them? Since Bitcoin was the market at the time of the product's inception, O and B is solely focused on it. Yes, I believe that's an intriguing market to bundle into an ETF as we observe these other treasury methods, whether it's ETH, Solana, or XRP, or as we see other tests conducted. As a general rule, I believe that most investors benefit more from diversified exposure than from idiosyncratic exposure. For you to feel confident about that one exposure, you really need to have done a lot of study. You can place a more themed wager when you are varied. Therefore, I believe that Own B and similar products will play a significant role in the ecosystem in the future. The aspect of that trend that most interests me is how tokenized ETF appear. Furthermore, I don't believe we are aware of what that is, since I believe people in the tokenized market, in my opinion, will eventually want to bundle stocks into ETPP in the same way that traditional investors want to do so to voice their opinions. The question is, if it resembles a conventional ETP, or if it is some kind of automatically running DeFi-like contract that manages and keeps track of many tokens and packages them together according to weights. That seems like a really intriguing course of action.